Today, the Spanish champions meet the champions of England on the biggest stage in European club football, the Champions League final. Two teams looking to make history by winning the silverware for the first time in club history, and it was the Spanish side that got off to a good start at the expense of a Chelsea mistake. Chaos in the box here. Frank Kirby tries to clear it, and a nightmare at the back. Leopolditz puts one home, an own goal that would be for Chelsea, and Barca take a 1-0 lead. So a horrible start for Chelsea, and things would go from bad to worse. Again, nightmare at the back. Leopolditz gets it even worse as she brings down Hermoso in the box. The penalty would be awarded. Not much there. VAR would have a look, but they would confirm the penalty. So Barcelona with a chance to make it 2, and the captain, Alexia Putellas, steps up and she makes sure that finds the back of the net. Barcelona looking to be the first Spanish club to win the Women's Champions League title. And here, 20 minutes in, well, they make it 3. A beautiful build-up from Barcelona. And in the end, it's Aitana Bonmati who finishes it. She beats Berger with a cool, calm and collective finish. That was Bonmati's 4th Champions League goal this season for the Spanish international. And if you think Barcelona were done, think again. Clinical on the attack, Martins takes it to the byline before cutting it back to Caroline Graham-Hansen, who taps it into the open net. Barcelona, they're up 4-0 before the half-time whistle, and that is how things would stay. They made it look easy against the champions of England in Sweden, and they become the first Spanish side to win the Women's Champions League title. What a moment it is for them in Gothenburg. Here is the match summary. As you can see, Chelsea with 17 shots, 5 of which were on target. Barcelona had 10, 4 of which were on target, and they made all 4 of them count. And this is a look. Champions at last. Barcelona, the first ever Champions League title for them. They become the first club in history for both the men's and the women's side to have won the title, and it's a night they will never ever forget. Ali, Sandra, Herrera join us now. I mean, Ali, it was a dream start for Barcelona, 4-0 up at half-time. We knew they were a good side. Were you expecting them to be that dominant, though?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we talked about it coming into this match that this Barca team was special. We knew that they're really setting the tone for what women's football it can be and what other teams are going to strive to do. But no, I didn't expect a first half dominating performance that really put the tie to bed before we hit the break. And I just think, you know, Barca was on it early on. I do think that there were moments in the game that could have shifted it. Was that a penalty? Not a clear look, not other views that we had, you know. And I think on the flip side, Chelsea, even though Barca was so dominant early on, I do think Peniel Harder had a couple looks early in the match that could have shifted the momentum of this game. But Chelsea just didn't really show up, and Barca certainly did. And that's been the theme all week long with this squad. With Luis Cortez, he said, you know, we've been here before. It was a gift. Now we're in this final, and it's time to win. And you saw this team. They were just on the front foot from the early go. They got a little luck going their way on that deflection, and then you saw them completely put Chelsea under pressure, and they just looked rattled for that first 45, and there was no way to come back.
Absolutely. I mean, they just really took it to Chelsea from that first whistle. I know we talked a little bit about both of the offenses for this team, and we wondered a little bit whether or not Barcelona was going to do anything with all of that possession that they were going to see, and boy, did we see it. I mean, I don't know if, you know, I know for a fact that we didn't have this pegged as the lopsided scoreline that we saw. We thought it was going to be more narrow, but it's unsurprising when you think about how Barcelona was choosing to attack this Chelsea side. We saw them really sort of isolate someone like Frank Kirby, who's been so huge for Chelsea throughout their matches in Champions League and in domestic side, and just sort of not being able to have the same impact for Chelsea, and just really that front line, that top 6 of Barcelona, just making things so difficult for Chelsea in their counter press. It was very, very impressive, whether it was the own goal in the opening minute, questionable penalty call with all of the chaos sort of happening around that, or the third goal where there was such beautiful movement on the ball to sort of link up between Martins and Putellas, and then just getting that third goal. And then this game was essentially wrapped up within 20 minutes, and that was only with 3 goals. So for them to just sort of get a fourth, just really, really, I think, sort of, you know, crushed all the dreams there for a lot of Chelsea fans out there.
Well, it was so dominant from Barcelona, and I definitely want to get to them in a minute. But Ali, for you, was it the nerves from Chelsea? It seemed like from the first whistle, they never really got their composure today.
Yeah, I mean, good point, Poppy. I think they were a little bit taken by the occasion, you could say, and that's perhaps the difference that Barca, the edge that they had going into this final over them. But I do think as soon as you concede a goal within 1 minute, and it's an own goal nonetheless, you are put in disarray. And you have to, as a team, as a manager, you have to talk about these situations. What if we get a red card early on? What if we concede early on? What if we go down a player? What if we lose our key player to injury within, the first 5 minutes? You have to discuss these situations so when they occur, you aren't stunned, you aren't shocked. And it didn't look like that was the case for this Chelsea team. And they just never seemed to look like they're put in rhythm. And I do wonder, tactically, I mean, we can talk about individual performances. I don't think they were great, but tactically, I was just questioned a few things, which was switching Charles' side and Carter's side. I thought they were going to be on opposite sides of the pitch for whatever reason. I'd love to know from Emma Hayes why she made that change in her back line. And I do think with the idea that they tried to confront with have three flat across the midfield, I think they left those outside backs isolated. I think they were looking to stifle and disrupt the rhythm of Barca and their build out, but that didn't occur. And then you were left isolated 1v1 in those wide areas with really young defenders. And we saw what happened as a result. They made some errors. They were a bit clumsy in their challenges, and they paid a price within 20 minutes, down 3-0.
You have to question those tactics in the end of a big loss like this, wondering where the adjustments were from a coach like Emma Hayes, because part of Chelsea's strength has been seeing those adjustments on the fly, getting them through this Champions League campaign of theirs. And I don't think we just really saw it from Chelsea coming out of this game. And it was just it's easy to say it's a poor day at the office, but this was an uncharacteristically poor day at the office for Chelsea. For so many different players on the pitch, we saw their midfielder in G just losing the ball a bit more than we're ever used to seeing a player like her sort of lose the ball. She's someone who provides a lot of calmness on the ball and is really that connector at times for this team. And we just saw her sort of struggling out there against that counter press against Barcelona. You could just sort of tell that one team had sort of been here before and the other had not. And we've heard Emma Hayes talk a lot about how this was a game that she had dreamed to get to, that it was a dream for so many of these players. And you can probably guarantee that this game in particular is going to be a nightmare for them moving forward.
And on the other side of that, this is a Barcelona side that just controlled the game so well from start to finish. Ali, do you think some of that was down to the fact that they've been in this position before? And what was it about Barcelona's performance today that was so impressive for you?
The press, the counter press. And I think, we're going to discuss always, was it Chelsea having a bad day, or do we just have to give a ton of credit to this squad and their press and the way they set up defensively? And how uncomfortable they made those players feel trying to build out. They couldn't find the channels to play advanced passes. Those advanced passes were getting picked off, or they just quite simply went horizontally, and they couldn't look to break the line. So I think you have to look at this Barcelona team and go, they are so beautiful on the ball, but their press and their counter press gets a ton of credit because they won the ball in advanced areas and they made Chelsea feel uncomfortable. And that is, winning half the battle when you get into these big moments. Who feels uncomfortable? And Barca on the day obviously showed up in a big way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's easy to, like I said, point and see, oh, this was a bad day on the pitch for one team, but it absolutely was part of Barcelona's doing and making sure that they rattled their opposition from the beginning at that first whistle. They're absolutely enjoying, the accolades of being, queens of Europe, but, I'd argue to say that they're probably the best team in the world right now, just considering this performance that we saw them put in today and everything that they did in the domestic league, where we talked about how they went undefeated and winning 26 games, but we hardly touched on the fact that they did that with a 128 goal to 5 goal differential. So they're a phenomenal team, able to make a team like Chelsea, team like Lyon, team like PSG, Manchester City, all these other top clubs look kind of foolish.
I mean, I think we have to talk about the fact that they didn't even have their starting center back pair, and this is in the biggest game of their career. Patry, we don't even discuss her because Chelsea really didn't threaten at all, and that again goes to the fact that they were so dominant in their press. And I just got to talk about on that left wing, Martins, because coming in, I thought Hansen was going to be the more dominant player, but it was Martins' day, and Putellas looked absolutely fine. She looked completely healthy, and the impact that she had. And these are very special players that we've talked about Martins for a long time, but I don't think she's quite lived up to her potential. And I feel like this final was a bit of a coming out party, if you will. Even though she did have those 2 goals against PSG, I don't think she dominated those matches the way that she was able to really handle that left side or the right side of Chelsea today. And I loved Putellas and just her impact that she had in the center of the park. The goal, I think it was the 3rd goal, the ball that she played in first time, the tempo, the rhythm. You talk about being able to pull apart the opposition. I mean, that ball single-handedly did it. And she assessed so many elements of the game in about 5 seconds and played what looks to be a simple ball, but is probably one of the most sophisticated balls I've seen in a big moment from a player.
Well, there were so many brilliant individual performances today, Ali, and you mentioned just a couple of them there, but collectively from Barcelona, it was just so good. Sandra, was there a particular player, though, that stood out to you today, the woman of the match?
Yeah, I'm absolutely going with Liga Martins. That's not just because I had this great feature on her over on CBS Sports. She's absolutely somebody who came. She's absolutely somebody who came into this match and kind of reintroduced herself. You know, I think this is a player I mentioned in the pregame, that this is a player who, in light of all of these big names with Barcelona, players who have sort of risen to the occasion, and she has sort of been regulated to a different place in this team, whether it's been coming off of the bench or maybe only getting certain starts in certain matches. But going into this Champions League campaign for Barcelona, she started to reintegrate herself into this team, and she was slotted back into that front line. And we saw it during PSG, and we saw it again today against Chelsea. Just her ability to get into these spaces and make the most of the space that was really, whether it was being given to her or she was taking the space. That was what was most impressive to me. She was absolutely taking it. And watching her being able to just sort of be a menace on that final third for Barcelona was really quite rewarding. And I think there's, a bright future potentially with Barcelona still. I know there's always a lot of conversations about what's going on with contracts and things like that. But I don't see how you look at a player who's been with the club this long and then seeing the performances that she's been putting together during this Champions League campaign and not saying that she's going to be an integral piece of Barcelona history moving forward.
Well, it'll be a season to remember for Barcelona, Ali. They've been absolutely dominant in their domestic league. They had the opportunity to win the treble as well with the match coming up. What do you think the players' emotions are feeling right now, and how long does it take for something like this to really sink in?
Trust me, it has sunk in. Right now, I think they're trying to get to their locker room and have some celebratory drinks. That's my guess. And look, this is something that you want to come out of your skin, and you can see it the way they're jumping. Every cell in your being is vibrating right now, and all of those days that you put in the work, all of those days that all you wanted to do was fall to the ground and you made one more run, you think back on it and go, it is so worth it, because right now they're a piece of history. And you look at this club in Barcelona and know that they're searching for something so positive right now with all that's happened on the men's side. They are the beacon of light within the club. And they're going to be the ones that perhaps, start to put this club in better standing within, I think, their community and the world at large.
So Barcelona today, they are the champions. Ali Wagner, Sandra Herrera, thank you so much for your company today. So Barcelona make history by winning their first title in club history. They become the first club in history to have won both the men's and women's title. They've etched their name on the silverware and in the history books, and they are the 2021 Women's Champions League winners.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.